Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about something that I think is very interesting and actually exciting, which is another development environment that we can use for developing games for the ZX Spectrum Next personal computer. Now, in previous videos we talked about assembly language and machine code that we can use for programming the Z80 mouth, talk properly. Hey everyone, welcome back to our journey of learning to develop games for the ZX Spectrum Next personal computer. And today I want to share something with you that I think is very interesting and exciting, which is another development environment that we can use for developing games. Now, we're all familiar with BASIC, and we're probably even familiar with NextBuild, which is the version of BASIC that we use to program the ZX Spectrum Next personal computer. And in previous videos, we've just taken a look at Z80 Machine Code and Z80 assembly language, which we know executes a lot more quickly than BASIC programs. However, this new development environment uses a programming language which is known as Boriel BASIC. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm not sure if I am. But anyway, this Boriel BASIC is exciting because it can actually be compiled into machine code, which means we get the advantage of learning to program using an easy to learn and user-friendly programming language such as BASIC. However, this BASIC program can then be compiled into machine code, which will allow our programs to execute very quickly. Now, they won't execute apparently quite as quickly as a program that's written in pure Z80 assembly language, but they execute for sure a lot more quickly than a program written in BASIC. So I think this is a very interesting and exciting way to develop programs, and I'm going to give it a try. And in case any of you are interested in trying it out as well, I'm going to show you how I install this development environment on my computer. Now, one thing we need to be aware of is that installing this environment is a little more complex, and there's a bit more to it than just downloading and installing a program as we did when we installed the ZX Spin development environment. So in this one, there are a few more bits and pieces that we need to install, and there's some configuration setups and changes we need to make. So it's a bit more tricky to get it actually set up and configured, but once we get it installed and set up properly and working, then I think it's going to be quite a powerful tool for us to use for developing games. So I'm going to show you how I install it on my computer, and if you like, you can follow along with me and try and install it on your own computers and see how you like it, if you think it's a good solution for you to try and develop your own games. And I think there's a good chance if this works out well for me, it might be an ideal solution for us to start with in being able to develop games more quickly than by actually learning enough assembly language for us to be able to develop an actual game. And there's actually one additional advantage and benefit to using this environment, which is we can actually incorporate Z80 assembly language into our Boriel BASIC programs. So we can continue on our journey of learning Z80 assembly language, and as we learn more and more Z80 assembly language code and instructions, we can incorporate those into our Boriel BASIC programs, and we can get our programs done more quickly and develop games more quickly while still learning how to program using Z80 assembly language. So if this sounds interesting and exciting to you as well, and you want to give it a shot and see how you like it, you can follow along with me, and I'm going to show you how to install it right now. So let's get started. What I'm going to do first is set up a folder structure on my computer, which will give me places to store all the files and programs that I'll be downloading and installing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And so let's take a look at my screen here, and you can see I've already set up a folder called ZX Game Dev on my desktop. Now you can set up your folder with whatever name you like and put it wherever you like, but I've just decided to use a folder called ZX Game Dev. So you can go ahead and create a folder called whatever you like, but mine is called ZX Game Dev. and I'm going to create my folder structure underneath or within this ZX Game Dev folder. So now I'm actually inside the ZX Game Dev folder here, and I'm going to create another folder or a subfolder. And the first one I want to create is a folder for the set of tools that are going to be installed for this Boriel BASIC environment. And these set of tools are in a package that is known as NextBuild. So I'm going to create a folder called NextBuild. So I'll just right click here and select New Folder, and I'll title it Next Build. So now I've got a new folder called NextBuild, which is within my ZX Game Dev folder. And now I want another folder underneath my ZX Game Dev folder. So I'll create one by going New Folder. And this one is going to be for our editor. The editor that we're going to be using is called Visual Studio Code, or VS Code for short. So I'm going to call this folder VS Code. So now I'm going to create another folder here, New Folder, and this one is going to be for our emulator, and we're going to be using the C-Spect emulator, so this folder will be called C-Spect. Now the next folder I'm going to create is going to be for one of the tools we'll be needing called SJASM Plus or SJASM Plus. So I'm going to title this folder SJASM Plus, SJASM Plus. Okay, and there's one more folder that I need to put here underneath this ZX Game Dev folder, which is New Folder, and I'm going to title this one Projects. And this is going to be for any projects that I create. So any games that I work on are going to have their own project folder. So I'm just going to create a projects folder here where I can store all my game projects. Now I want to go into this projects folder and open it up. So I'll double click on projects. And now I want to put another folder under here. So I'll select New Folder, and I'll just call this folder My First Game. So we'll pretend that this is going to be a project folder for a game that's going to be titled My First Game. And now within this folder we need yet one more folder. So I'm going to double click on this one to open it up. So now you can see here I'm within the ZX Game Dev folder, and within the projects folder under that, and within the My First Game folder under that. And so inside here I'm going to right click and select New Folder one last time, and this one I'm going to label Source. And that's going to be for the source files that we'll be creating. So now we have our folder structure all set up. The next thing I want to do is install Visual Studio Code Editor, or VS Code for short. So I'm just going to Google that and see where I can download it from. So if I type in VS Code, and there's a download link I see here, so I'll go ahead and click on that. And my computer is a Windows computer, and it's a 64-bit Windows computer. So I'm just going to click here on the 64-bit box and download the 64-bit installer for VS Code. So I'll go ahead and double click on ZX Game Dev here to open it up. And you can see here we have a folder called VS Code, so I'll go ahead and double click on that. And now it's going to install this exe file into that folder, so I'll just click Save. And now here it's downloading onto my computer, and I'm going to click on that to open it up. And then I accept the license agreement and click Next one more time. So I want to go ahead and browse to the VS Code folder that I just created. And I'm going to look for my ZX Game Dev folder, which should be down at the bottom here, right here. So I'll expand that. And here is my VS Code folder, so I'll just click on that and click OK. So I'll go ahead and click Next now. I am going to select Create a Desktop Icon because it's always nice to have a desktop icon to open a program. And I think that's all I'm going to change, and I'll go ahead and click Next again. And some messages come up here, so I'll click Install now. And now it's installing Visual Studio Code, or VS Code, onto my computer. Okay, so Visual Studio Code has finished installing now. And here this selection box for Launch Visual Studio Code is selected. So I'll click Finish, and now it's going to open up VS Code for me, or Visual Studio Code. And there we go. Our Visual Studio Code is now installed and opened on my computer. So we're going to come back to this in a little bit, but first I want to go and see about installing the actual Boriel BASIC development environment. So let me just minimize this for now, and we'll go back to google.com, and I'm going to search for Boriel NextBuild. And you can see the top one here, it comes up with GitHub eMook NextBuild. So I'm going to click on that, and it brings me here. So these are a bunch of the files and utilities that I guess are included with this package. And if you look down near the bottom here, there's a link that is titled zxbasic.uk NextBuild. And if you like, you can click on that and see where it takes us. And it brings us to a NextBuild page that contains all kinds of information about this NextBuild package. So you can go ahead and read that if you like. And there's some videos you can watch and some more details at the bottom and how it was developed and so forth. But for now, I'm just going to go back up to the top and click back over here where it says https://github.com. It's bringing us back to that GitHub repository where we can download this package. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on code here, and down at the bottom it says download zip. So I'll click on that. And now it's asking us where to save this zip file, and of course we've already set up a folder for NextBuild, so I'm just going to go back up to ZX Game Dev here, and there's our NextBuild folder. So I'll double click on that, and now this NextBuild zip file is going to be saved into our NextBuild folder here, so I'll click Save. And now so here it's downloaded it. I'm just going to click on that, and I'll look in the NextBuild folder now. And you can see there's a zip file here, so I'm going to double click on that to open it. And in here we see a file called nextbuildlauncher.exe. We'll double click on that, and it's going to extract all the folders for us and files when we do that. So we'll click extract here and wait for the folders and files to extract themselves. So there, it's finished extracting. And let's open up this NextBuild master folder here. And here let's take a look at this readme.txt file. And we see here it has some information about the program. But over here let's take a look where it says, when you install VS Code, which we've already done, choose Open Folder and point to the Sources folder inside NextBuild. VS Code will ask to install all the required extensions for code completion and snippets. So let's go back to our VS Code program here. So then the instruction says we should go over here to File and Open Folder, and then we should point to ZX Game Dev, NextBuild, NextBuild Master, then there's another NextBuild Master, and I just keep going down the list here until I get to this Sources folder that it mentioned, and I highlight this by clicking just once, and now it turns blue, so it's highlighted, and I click Select Folder, and it pops up with this window here, which asks me, do you want to install the recommended extensions for this repository? So this will automatically install the extensions that NextBuild needs. So I'll go ahead and click the install button here. And now it's installing the needed extensions. Good, so now that's one more step we've completed.